beginning of the year process webinar. Here's some webinar housekeeping. If you can hear the presenter and see the presenter screen, if you would please raise your hand so we can make sure everyone is hearing and seeing the information. Questions, if you will note the second arrow, orange arrow points to questions. If you have questions throughout the webinar, please submit them in the questions bar and we will try to get those answered. And if it's a non-specific question for an LEA or charter, we will try to answer those to everyone so we can all have the same information as we progress through the webinar. We do not have any handouts posted in the third section, third orange arrow, and we will have links to documents and support resources. We will have those linked on the archived webinars page, and we'll also provide those in the questions bar or chat bar. So next slide, please. Okay, next slide, please. My name is Kimberly Simmons, and I am the North Carolina Educator Evaluation Coordinator. And I am joined today by Cammie Nairn, the TNL lead for the Department of Public Instruction. A few other staff that we have on the call today helping with our questions will be Dr. Mandy Taylor, Heather Stewart, and Delia Payne. So thank you everyone for joining us today. And you also see on the screen some contact information for Cammie and myself. So our norms for today's webinar: please minimize your outside distractions, be attentive and participate. Notify the presenter if you are having technical difficulties by raising your hand, and use the questions bar on your dashboard to ask questions. Our webinar outcomes for today include how to access the North Carolina Educator Evaluation System, review the teacher evaluation process, confirming staff list and plan types, reviewing assigning rights, the principal evaluation process. I don't think we're including that, and beginning of the principal evaluation. I can't hear anyone.
No, I can't either. Cammie, if you're presenting, you need to unmute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you guys had unmuted us. All right. Sorry about that. We're going to start a little bit over then. So, to access NCEES, well, let me go back then. So these bullet points are incorrect. We'll get those corrected. So teachers, we're going to go through your teacher evaluation process, getting it started, how to access NCEES, and then how to go through your PDP, start that. And I think that's about it. We'll go through the slides with that, but I will get this slide corrected. So can you hear me okay now?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. So accessing your NCEES. and that is through the NCEEScloud.org, and most of you are familiar with this. And you would, if you're brand new and haven't claimed your account yet, you need to get with your county lead that is actually gives you the access once you've registered for access to NCEES Cloud. Once you've claimed your account, you could then come back to this page and you can log in to the IAM Ed Cloud. And that was, you would have a username and a password, and you would click go. And you would end up seeing a window with these icons. Depending on what you've been given access, which programs you can access. Should you be going into PowerSchool or Canvas or SchoolNet or the NCEES program? So let me get to the next page. So on this page, I've blown it up a little bit so you can see some of the icons that you're going to see. To access NCEES, you're going to look for the True North Logic icon. I do think that we named the little wording under it. Now in your bar will be NCEES. But if you see True North Logic, that is the same access point for NCEES. So once you've clicked that, it will take you to your landing page for a teacher. And here I'm just using a sample training teacher account. So if you look across the top of the page, you should see your name in the top right-hand corner. You'll see a little question mark, and that actually just takes you to Performance Matters, who owns True North Logic NCEES program. They have help documents for the system, but they are generic to the NCEES system. I'll show you where our help guides live in just a couple minutes. There's a calendar icon here where you can go see what webinars are coming up. I've posted those out there on the calendar. And then up here is just email notifications that you may get from myself or your admin people that send out email notifications. Across the top, you're going to see the home button, which is where you should land when you first come in here. You may or may not see system admin depending on the rights that have been given to you. You should see the next ones though. The My Evaluation, Staff Evaluations, if you're going to do mentor or peer evaluations, you may see that. The help guides, we'll talk about those later. Professional development, where you get your courses for PD. And then analysis of student work was discontinued by the legislature this year. However, you will still see it in here because we are finalizing the data for the teachers who did participate in that last year. All right, so the next button that we're clicking on is the Help Guides button. And this is where we have North Carolina process documents, help guide, how-to documents for you. You're going to see some quick guides, and that with the different evaluation processes, what needs to be set up, and then some guides on evaluations. So that might be a good spot for you guys. I will say that these are in process of being updated because we upgraded the look of the system. There's not a lot different with the upgrades recently over the summer that changed the navigation of these documents. And some of these documents are broken links. So if you see a broken link, just report it to your admin person and they'll put in a remedy ticket. And I do know that I am in the process of updating these. All right, so we're going to go to the teacher evaluation process.
Thank you, Cammie.
You're welcome.
So the North Carolina teacher evaluation process has 4 steps, and today we will focus on the first 2 steps. Step number 1, you see in the green, is training and orientation, and step 2 in the purple is the self-assessment, goal setting, and pre-conference. So let's look a little bit closer at these steps. Component 1, training. Before participating in the evaluation process, all teachers, principals, peer evaluators must complete training on the evaluation process. And component number 2, which includes the orientation, within 2 weeks of the teacher's, no, if you'll go back one for me, Cammie. Thank you. That's okay. Within 2 weeks of the teacher's first day, the principal will provide 3 things. The rubric for evaluating the North Carolina teacher, the teacher evaluation policy ID, number TCP-7 C-004, and a schedule for completing the evaluation process. Now, the first two items on that list of three, that can be provided to you online or with a link or resource, or it is built in within the tool. But letter C, a schedule for completing the evaluation process. It's very important that a principal give some guidelines on when they plan to complete their rounds of observations throughout the year. So our first one we schedule, and then our others are at the will of the principal, but also we do need to know if you have 3 evaluations, that the second round of evaluations will be completed by, for example, February 1st. And some LEAs give very specific guidelines to the principals, and then some leave this decision up to the principals. So moving on to the next slide. Okay. Here you see component 3, the teacher self-assessment. Using the rubric located in the online tool, the teacher shall rate their performance and reflect on his or her performance throughout the year. And this can be shared with the principal, or it cannot be shared with the principal. That is a decision that the teacher holds and gets to decide. Component 4, the pre-observation conference. Before the first formal observation, the principal meets with the teacher to discuss the self-assessment, the professional growth plan, and the lessons to be observed. The goal of this pre-observation conference is to prepare the principal for the observation. But this is a great time for the principal and the teacher to have that conversation about where you are with your abilities and where you want to go and what your professional growth will look like throughout the year. So the professional growth plan is a key roadmap to your professional growth as a teacher in North Carolina. So this is a one-page visual that can be found on the NCEES Wiki, and we will also provide a link to this resource in the chat bar. Here you have another chart, a one-page visual for you to use, which outlines the North Carolina evaluation process based on the evaluation cycle type. So we have the 3 different types of evaluation: comprehensive evaluation cycle, standard evaluation cycle, and the abbreviated evaluation cycle. And you see as you progress across the document that it lists the different components that one may have within the evaluation, and then below you can see, based on your cycle type, which of those requirements are included for you that year.
Okay, so it looks like we're ready. Do we have any questions before we get into beginning your evaluation plan?
Not at this time.
Thank you. All right. So to begin your evaluation plan, excuse me, you would actually go to your tab that says My Evaluation. And then when you open that, you're going to see 3 different areas, one called Current Evaluations, Archived Evaluations, and Deactivated Evaluations. We really won't get into archived evaluations or deactivated, but you as a teacher are pretty much the only one that can see those when you log in. Some of your admin can run reports on those, but this is where you would go see your past archived evaluations. And if an evaluation didn't get archived properly, it may be under the deactivated evaluation. So to start your current evaluation, you're going to find whatever you've been assigned. In this case, this teacher has a comprehensive evaluation plan. And of course, yours will say 2017-2018. So you would just click the button for Start Plan. And it will open up to some containers, is what we call each of these blocks. The locking instructions is for your admin person. The first box you want to look at, the first container, is your training and orientation. And it contains one activity, so you would just click on it. and it would open to another page where it again says training/orientation, and you would click on the link for training/orientation. That opens you to your training orientation page. So in here, you're going to see an edit button, and it says within 2 weeks, the first 10 working days of a teacher's first day of work in any school year, the principal will provide the teacher with a copy of or directions for obtaining access to this following information. So in here, when you click edit, it will open in a new window, and you'll see this gray box. And I hope you can see this, but in here you have some links to your evaluation rubric, and you have a link to the teacher evaluation policy. So if you have any questions about the policy, there are some links that will take you to that site. What you need to do in here is to fill in the date that you received orientation on. And there's a little calendar widget here, or you could type it in with a 2-digit day, 2-digit month, and a 4-digit year. If for any reason you need to reset that little box, there is a little reset link there. But you can also use the calendar widget to just go click on the correct day. Once you've done that, if you click save, you just stay on the window. But if you want to get to the next step, you're going to click save and exit. It will take you back to your training and orientation page, and where this had a blue orientation dot beside it, now it will have a green check mark beside the word orientation. So then you have two choices. If you click back, it's going to take you back to the original orientation container. And if you've not marked it complete, you will see a yellow little flower with a check mark above it. There is on the far right a place to mark it complete, or you can come back in, or before you leave this area, click the Mark Complete box. And then when you go back and see your container, it will have that green check mark. Any questions about starting that process? Okay, and here's just a list of the steps. Go ahead.
Yeah, there is actually a question in the questions bar that I thought might be good for everyone, because I myself couldn't remember. The question is, if you go back a slide.
Okay.
Thank you. When you're here and you're trying to start the comprehensive evaluation and the PDP, if you click on it and it says you are not authorized to access this page, this means you don't have the rights and responsibilities, right? And you either have to give them to yourself or your principal or superintendent needs to do so. Is that correct?
It sounds like your admin is going to have to do that. Yeah. If you don't have the rights, I don't know if you can give them to yourself. I would have to look that up. But yes, your admin would have to. We'd have to look at that. I don't know why you would have a plan that you didn't have the rights to. So I would have to look at that.
Right. It's just about assigning the correct rights. So if you get that, first see your admin.
Yeah.
All right, great. Thank you for answering that.
You're welcome. Okay, so then the next steps are the principal would do the pre-observation conference, and it would jump back to the teacher to do the acknowledgement of that pre-observation. And then that goes to the formal observation from the principal or peer or who's ever doing the observation. And then there would be a post-observation conference. And once that is held, the teacher has to acknowledge that post-observation. A teacher has the ability or a place to write a written response. And then if there is a written response, the principal can acknowledge that written response. All right. Oh, there was one more. My little bar keeps jumping over my numbers. Yep, 8. And then the principal would do the lock observation activity once all that was done. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the professional development plan. And this goes back to Kim.
Thanks, Cammie. So we have 3 different types of professional development plans: individual growth plan, monitored growth plan, directed growth plan. Each of our growth plans, regardless of what type that it is, should prove to be a roadmap for teacher growth. This roadmap can include individual goals, school goals, and district goals. But we know that it should be aligned with your school improvement plan. So if you have an overall school improvement goal for literacy, and it can be drilled down to be very specific, then literacy would want to be you would want literacy to be one of your professional development goals as well. But also remember that this is about you and your growth, and your individual goals should be included on the professional development plan.
Oops, sorry. Jump.
So here let's look a little closer at the different types of professional development plans. The individual PDP, this is for the teacher rated proficient or higher on all standards. Within the individual PDP, the teacher sets individual goals for growth. The administrator and teacher meet to discuss the PDP 3 times, once at the beginning of the year, mid-year, and end of the year. For the monitored PDP, this is for the teacher rated developing on 1 or more of the standards. The monitored PDP is not recommended for dismissal, demotion, or non-renewal at this time. The administrator and teacher meet to discuss and set goals together, and then they will meet at least 3 times at the beginning of the year, mid-year, and end of the year to review progress. So that is a collaborative effort. The directed PDP is for the teacher rated not demonstrated on any standard or rated developing on 1 or more standards for 2 consecutive years. Again, this directed PDP is not recommended for dismissal, demotion, or non-renewal at this time. The administrator sets goals for the teacher. So the difference here is in the individual PDP, the teacher develops their goals. For the monitored PDP, the administrator and teacher create goals together. And for the directed PDP, the administrator sets goals for the teacher based on observations and documentation, meets with the teacher to review the development plan, and they will meet at least 3 times to review the progress throughout the year. 1 school year or less to reach proficiency or as determined by the LEA. So I kind of want to go back to the second set of notes where it says not recommended for dismissal, demotion, or non-renewal. What we're trying to communicate here is that your local LEA should have board policy on your action plans or your improvement plans that you may have. And those plans, that's what your individual LEA and your board has decided how you will address the dismissal, demotion, or non-renewal of a staff member.
Sorry. All right. I guess this comes back to me. So now we talked about starting your evaluation plan. We want to go over to starting that PDP, that professional development plan. And you'll again come back to the My Evaluation tab, and you'll be on the Current Evaluations tab. And you should see a Professional Development Plan 2017-2018 for this year, and click Start Plan. So in this screen, this is when you first come in here, you're going to see the standards listed, and there'll be a long list of your standards, and you would decide what you would self-assess. So you would, and Kim, I don't know if you can jump in. I don't know how many boxes they have to check, but I think it's at least 1 in each row. So what you would do to start this is to start new. And once you click Start New, then you could go in here and decide what level that you are at, and you would just click a checkbox. These are your decisions. So is this a standard not looked for? Are you developing the standard? Or you feel like you're proficient? And which levels? Just check the box that applies.
Yeah, Cammie, if I could jump in here just a little bit,
yes,
to provide some clarification, I'll be happy to. This self-assessment, you simply read the individual descriptors and you check based on whether that individual descriptor is accurate or not. I know that they progress across the page, and that at the top it has developing, proficient, accomplished, and distinguished, but really it would be, if we had a perfect world, they could just be listed in order or any way, but I want you to read each of the descriptors individually, and then you check if that descriptor applies to you or not. And there may be some questions for clarification here, and I'll be happy to answer them. But this is we have this resurfacing as a misconception. So this is a great opportunity for me to clarify.
Yeah, I just know it has to have at least, on the data side of it, it has to have at least one box checked.
Yeah.
Or you won't be able to complete.
On the technical end, yes, it's kind of like you have to activate, but that would be easy to do, because even if you checked the not demonstrated and that you weren't developing, you could, it would still activate. So yes.
Yes.
So
Okay,
I would check,
Kim.
if I were doing self-assessment, just to review, I would check, if I'm looking here at developing, understands how they contribute to students graduating from high school. Yes, I understand that. Uses data to understand the skills and the abilities of students. Yes, I can check that. Proficient and takes responsibility for the progress of students to ensure that they graduate. Yes. So, and then you just progress, and you may even see over in accomplished that you can't check one. Well, you still read the rest of the descriptors, for example, under distinguished, because there may be a descriptor there that you can check. It's not, usually it is a progression that builds on the skills, but sometimes it'll jump around a little bit. So be careful to read all the descriptors and check the ones that apply to you.
Very good point, Kim. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so once you've gone down through all the standards, you would see at the bottom of your page the blue buttons for Save Changes or Save and Exit. Save Changes will just leave you on the page, and Save and Exit will get you back to your container for the self-assessment. And if you had missed a box on one of the lines, or had left one of the standards empty and had not checked any of the descriptors, you would not have a completed little icon here. It would still be in progress, which is this 3/4 little flower circle here. So if you need to come back in and complete your self-assessment, just click back on the self-assessment link, and there is, under the drop-down, under your action menu, beside the, it looks like a little lasso or a top bubble, beside the orange A, there's a drop-down arrow. And here you can click Continue, and it will open that back up. Until you click Continue, you will not be able to go in there and change where your check boxes are or fix the area that you missed. So make sure you click Continue. Once you've completed, again, you would save. There's also, then you would see the Mark Complete button, and you could mark it complete. It would ask you, do you want to finalize? Yes. And then you would get that green check mark back on your container. Okay.
Okay, some questions in the chat bar. If we can review just 1 minute, something that's kind of popping out altogether.
Okay.
For the self-assessment, there's lots of questions about what to put in the self-assessment. And so can we review what you're hoping to accomplish as far as the self-assessment, whether you're putting developing, proficient, or accomplished? There's just a lot of concerns about, well, what will happen if I put developing or put not demonstrated? Is this going to hurt me? Is this going to help me? So maybe just a little bit of clarification there, Kim?
Sure. Sure. Well, just remember that this is your professional growth plan, and you have the choice on whether you share this with your principal or not. So you can, this is a place for you to really assess where you are, so that at the end of the year you can see where you've made progress. And usually the self-assessment is used to develop the PDP. I complete my self-assessment, and then I look where I need to show growth, whether it be from developing to proficient, or proficient to accomplished, or accomplished to distinguished, wherever I choose. And that's what I build my professional development goals from. from those standards and those specific descriptors. And I want to, within the PDP, I want to use the language of this self-assessment, the rubric, to write those goals for your PDP. Does that help at all, Heather?
So Heather, I didn't know about this share button, and I'm because I am new, so I'm still learning parts of this. So it looks like there is a share button up here. Is that where you share with your principal, probably?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it's not required. You can.
That's right.
But you do not have to.
That's correct. That is state board policy that the teacher has the decision of whether to share her self-assessment, to share their self-assessment or not. Yes. I mean, but you can have a conversation about it, and it's expected to be a part of the conversation for the pre-observation conference. But just because you discuss it, if you prefer not to share it, but you want to bring forth some areas where you plan to grow, and that's the reason why that you've created the PDP that you have, it all just kind of walks hand in hand. So you can just discuss it by sharing the information, or you can share the document completely. A lot of times we're much harder on ourselves than what anyone completing observations or our evaluation may be. So just remember that.
Good question, and thank you for the answers, because I learned too.
Yes.
All right, and I don't see any more at this moment, so we can move forward.
Okay.
Thanks, Heather, for keeping a good read on our audience.
The PDP Review Cycle. So this is what comes next. So the principal responsibilities, mentor responsibilities if it's required for your plan, and then teacher and support staff responsibilities. So here, the teacher, you're responsible for your PDP details. The principal has to do the evaluator's signature. He's the evaluator. The mentor has a place to sign off on their observations, and the teacher then can sign off. And once everything is in, the principal completes the locking activities for that evaluation cycle for the PDP. All right, so we have any other questions about the evaluations or the PDP before we go into accessing your professional development courses? Sounds like we're quiet. I'm going to move forward. So here, when you are in, I don't know if you see that top bar very good, but you will have professional development. We looked at that when we saw our initial screen. At the very top bar, click on Professional Development, and it brings you to this window. And in here, you have news from professional development, what's upcoming, maybe some ideas of courses that are out there that you might want to take. This does get updated every once in a while, so do look at that. There are links to the calendar for PD and for some different areas right there. For you, if you want to search for a course, there are a couple ways. Here you can do a course search on the right where I have the letter A. You would just type in a word that goes with that course or a course number if you knew what that was. And then once you've accessed courses and you have courses, they would show up under your My Courses, which is Area B here. And you could look at all your learning opportunities that you've signed up for. So under the A part, the course search, maybe you wanted to search for discipline or just different topics that you want to search on, you would type it in the bar and click search. There's also an advanced search link under where you would enter the word, and if you click the advanced search, you would have plenty of other options to help narrow down your search. A course description, maybe the title if you know what it is, if you do know the course number or somebody's giving you a section title or section, or even when does this course start. Maybe you have some time that you can take these courses, and maybe you want to find out what's available during that time. The Show All would come out here, and it would give you a list of all available courses. So however you get to the course that you're looking for, once you've found it, you would click on the title of the course or the one you want to sign up for. and it would bring you into that Learning Opportunities screen. Again, it would tell you the title of the course, and it would give you some information about the course and how many CEUs and everything like that. So toward the end, you're going to have a Start button right at the top. So until you started it, you've got two buttons, Not Started and Start. And when you're ready to start, of course, you click the button for Start. And then this is just another screen to show you that Start button and to show you some of the other topics in here that are at the bottom of the course detail screen. Here's all the standards that are tied to that course and that would meet whatever standard you're trying to meet. And then observations and other information for you. Plenty of details on that course to help you meet your goals. So now you've chosen which courses you want to take, and you want to go under My Courses and look at your learning opportunities. So you would click on Learning Opportunity, and here's where you've registered for certain learning opportunities. And this is where you can click on those and begin those. I didn't talk about, up here is a button to view your transcript. So once you've completed a course, your CEUs do go back to your transcript, and you can see that course will be listed there with a link to your certificate that you've earned, and it will show you how many CEUs you've earned with that course. So currently, due to budget cuts right now, they're restructuring our Educator Effectiveness Department. So currently, NCDPI instructor-led courses are not scheduled to be offered in the near future. They are very much planning to offer those later. They just need to look at the staff that they have and to be able to get those together. But currently, please go to this link. This is another place to find courses. They have provided their own page with Educator Effectiveness that you can go find courses, and for self-paced courses that you can go through yourself. So this slide, I'll just let you read at your leisure. I picked out a few that they were promoting as self-paced courses for teachers. So here are just some here that you can read over later. Okay. And then just some information about this flexible learning. Self-paced modules do offer you that flexible learning, and there are many modules that let teachers enroll themselves and complete the work at their own pace, on your own schedule. So LEAs are encouraged to review that work that you do, such as your lesson plans, your planning documents, and journals. And then they can, some of them do want to confirm that credit that you're earning. All NCDPI PD courses are available through home base, free of charge to all the educators in North Carolina public schools. And then again, some of your districts have purchased their own P&L, so they may be creating courses that are local also. But this here is your NCDPI created courses. All right, and that brings me to the end of that. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Cammie, can you go back in the slide deck and show us where we access the PDP? I responded to the question, but I just want to make sure that it's clear.
Oh, the PDP?
Mm-hmm, the PDP. It's under the My Evaluations tab. There we go.
Mm-hmm. It's under My Evaluation tab. And it's usually, I think usually your evaluation shows up on top, and then your PDP is right below it. Professional Development Plan. It's spelled out. So make sure it says Professional Development Plan.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yes, there are a couple that are beginning to pop up about courses that you may be taking elsewhere. If you are taking courses outside of the professional development system and you want your district to recognize the credit, you will need to get the certificate from that online website or from that university or from that company. So you need that certificate that says that you participated, and you bring it to your human resources department, and they will decide if they will give you credit for that or not.
Correct. Now, I know some districts have rules that you need pre-approval, and then others just let you bring in what you've done, and they can approve afterwards. All right, and this is your chance to get in some questions. We have plenty of time. I do now, I'm going to speak to the teacher licensure cycle. When you're in NCEES, we have noticed that there's an issue, teachers, that when you go in there, your licensure cycle is a year behind. Do know that we are actively working on that, and we're checking the calculation of that field this week. So hopefully that'll be corrected within the next week or two. All right, so I'm going to go back down to the question screen. If we don't have any other questions, we'll let Kim talk about the wiki, I think, page is next.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so here you have a screenshot of the NCEES Wiki, and the address is at the top of the slide. But if you look over to the left at the navigation, you see archived webinars, 2017-18 webinars. That page is where you will be able to access the recorded webinar from today, along with a PDF of the presentation that we've used today of our slides. We'll also post on that site any of the resource links that we may have shared with you in the chat bar or in the questions answer. We try to put as many of the resources to support this presentation there as possible. So this is a great resource for you to have, the NCEES Wiki. There's lots of opportunities that you can find, like the upcoming webinars. Maybe that's where you found today's webinar, or archive presentations that we've delivered over the past few years. If you look at the presentations, these are there for your use. If you want to share with your colleagues, or if you have been challenged or charged with a presentation, look here on the NCEES Wiki and see what types of resources we may have for you. Next slide. Here we have upcoming webinars, and again, there is the link provided for you. But just to point out, on the 26th, we have Teacher Leadership Standards, and that is from 4 until 5. Digital Learning Competencies on October 3rd. On the 10th, we have the North Carolina Professional Teaching Standard 1. We'll take a deep dive look into what Standard 1 looks like and evidences and artifacts around Standard 1. And then on the 17th, we'll do the same, but we'll take a look at the North Carolina School Executive Standard and artifacts and evidences that support that standard for school executives, for principals and assistant principals. What to expect after the webinar?
I got a happy clicker. There we go.
You will receive an email with details about the webinar, including title, date, description, and participation time. Some educators bundle these messages and submit them to their district office for credit, and it is under the district's authority whether or not to approve items for renewal credit. So we get lots of questions on, do I get credit for this webinar? And you will receive this email if you attended today's webinar, and this information will be there for you to submit to your HR department. You may have to have prior approval. Some LEAs do require that you get prior approval, and some do not.
Okay, so what if you're working in your system and you have an issue with what's going on with your evaluation or any part of the PD side, the courses, you have an issue. So you as a teacher, and I want to speak to the teachers, would need to go to your admin person. They or their admin, their True North Logic lead, has the rights to open a support desk ticket with our home-based support desk. We always post this phone number, but we ask our teachers to not call the number. You need to follow the process to contact your lead person at your school, and if they can put in a ticket, they will, or they will contact the county lead person, and that county lead person will take your issue, put it in a remedy ticket, and they will work on that issue. And then if they need to speak with you as a teacher, they will follow that chain and get that contact to you. But this is where the person that is designated to put in issue tickets with our home-based remedy support desk. This is where they can go to put those in. And do know that when you're reporting your issue, please follow the 4 W's. Who's accessing the application? That would be you. What are you doing when the problem occurs, and what part of the application are you in? When did it occur? And we really want to know what time of day, what was going on. And then where did the problem occur? Just at your school, or is your whole district down, or is it just one teacher, or are several teachers having the issue? And then if the people need assistance for putting in these tickets, we have a link to the video that shows them how to do that. And that's our last slide, unless we have any other questions out there. All right.
There's a couple questions that you might want to address.
Okay.
Might be a technical issue. One question, Kim, is how many credits do I have to have in order to renew a license? I'm assuming this is a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Another question. This is, I think, a technical one, Kimmy. They're all showing up as teachers. I go in as an admin and edit the information 24 hours. Everybody rolls back to teacher plan. So that must be maybe dealing with some support staff. Is there something they can do, Cammie, or put in a remedy?
Okay, it could be like their counselor staff or something like that, or their psychologist. That would need a remedy ticket. We have seen some issues. Mainly was dealing with the PDP plan, kept rolling back to the teacher rubric. And I am putting in a ticket with True North Logic about that. So I need more specific details so they could open a ticket, the admin can, with our support desk, and they can put it in their attention, Cammie and Aaron. And if they need to, if they can't give them an answer right then, go ahead and attention Cammie and Aaron, and I will take a look at the ticket.
All right, here's another question. If a person is an administrator, Kim, and a teacher, do they have to do 2 evaluations?
Repeat that again. I'm sorry.
If a person is an administrator and a teacher, do they have to do 2 evaluations?
Can you be a NCEES with more than one?
Oh, no, you cannot. It has to be your primary. It has to be what you spend the majority of your day doing, your primary role.
Okay.
And that has to be determined by, by you or by who, your superintendent or school
Somebody
leader.
local.
Yeah, school leader, yeah. But you do only have one plan. That's all that you can have assigned to your UID number.
There may be a few questions in here around charter schools. Participants that are on the line that are in a charter school system and wondering about accessing the evaluation system because they work elsewhere. So for folks that are on charter schools, we're going to direct you to maybe the NCEES Wiki. There is a charter school tab there that gives you information about accessing the evaluation system and resources that you need for that. So maybe hold your questions there, and the contact information will be given at the end of the slide deck, and we'll see if we can get some information for the charter schools and access.
I also put a link in the, I hope I sent it out to everyone in the questions bar, a link to licensure update off of the DPI website, and there's different requirements depending on if you are K 8, 9, 12 administrators. So I just kind of put a link there to professional educator license page. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. All right. Well, I hope we've given you guys some answers today and given you some guidelines about going forward. We'll be here for you. So, and Kim and I did have our contact information at the start of the slide deck. So if you need any other questions, come in. We'll give you maybe 1 or 2 more minutes, and then we'll look at letting you have the rest of your day back.